Reader friends and book besties, hello, welcome or welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Erica, aka PaperbackGirly, and today I would love to share with you guys my thoughts and opinions about the 9 books that I read in the month of June. I had a pretty decent reading month in the month of June. It was not my most read books in the month for sure, probably the least read, but I had a ton of great reads. I had so much fun filming all the different reading vlogs last month, and I'm very excited to see what the month of July has in store for us as well. I started off the month finishing Good Girl Complex by Elle Kennedy. This is the first in a duology called Avalon Bay. This is about a girl named Mac and a boy named Cooper. Think of this book as like Outer Banks on paper, on paperback. Mac goes to like a big college that's in the city of Avalon Bay, which is like a coastal beachside town, and Cooper is like a local to this town. So Cooper and all of his friends basically refer to all of the rich kids that go to this college as the townies, and they don't really like them. They don't really mesh well with them. And one day while Cooper is bartending, he has an altercation with another guy who was just like being a jerk, being really rude. And after the altercation, Cooper ends up losing his job. He and his friends get together and decide that they are going to go after Preston, who is the boy's name, or the guy's name that he got into an altercation with. And then he also meets Mackenzie. So he decides with his friends that he's going to get after him by going after his girlfriend. His girlfriend, Mac, is very trusting. She has like her own influencer business. Like she has all these things going for her, but she's not necessarily super duper happy with her lifestyle at the moment. So Cooper starts to pursue her and they become friends. And you know, there's just some things in this book that at the end of the day, I'm not really a huge fan of. Kind of like cheating, like a cheating trope, I guess, in a way. Not a huge fan of that. But what I did like about this book is that it takes place in a beachside town. It's giving very much beachy vibes, and I think it was just like a really good read to kick off the summer. I rated this a 3 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it, but I probably would not read it again. And I do have the second book on my summer TBR, so we may not get to this summer. We probably will. I definitely think that Elle Kennedy is either like a hit or a miss for me. I wasn't a huge fan of The Deal. I just don't think I resonate well with her writing style, and so I rated this a 3 out of 5 stars. Then my most anticipated read of the month was Unfortunately Yours by Tessa Bailey. I actually went to a Tessa Bailey event here in San Diego where she came out and she had like a little author talk, author panel type thing, and then she also signed books. So I did get this personalized to Erica, aka PaperbackGirly. That's me. And I had a really great time at that event, and I actually really enjoyed this book. The first book in this companion duology series is called Secretly Yours, and it follows Natalie's brother Julian Voss and a girl named Haley. That book ended up being like a 3-star for me, 3.5 stars. I think Tessa Bailey is also another hit or miss author for me, but this one pleasantly surprised me, and I rated this a 4.5 stars. I love the banter in this book. I love the connection between the two characters. We meet Natalie at the end of, well, we meet her throughout the entire book of Secretly Yours, but we meet Natalie in August at the end of Secretly Yours, and I already knew that I was gonna eat up this book because of the like bits and pieces that we got at the end of Secretly Yours. And in this book, it's basically like a marriage of convenience. Natalie is 30 years old, and whenever she was younger and in college, she decided that she didn't want anything to do with her trust fund. She didn't want things to be easy. She wanted to be able to start her life on her own. After some struggles, workplace struggles, I guess, she had to kind of start from square one, and she wants to open up her own business. But in order for her to get her access to her trust fund, she has to marry somebody. So she basically offers to August that she would like to have a marriage of convenience, that they would get together, and it also is mutually beneficial to him because he is trying to open up a winery in the same area, in the Napa Valley area. This takes place in California. But August wants to open up a winery in memory of a fallen soldier who was his best friend. He is a retired Navy SEAL, and so his friend's dying wish was that he would one day open up a winery, and so Julian decides to do so in his name. However, it's not really doing that great. He's entering all these winery competitions and not competing very well, and also not getting a lot of business. And so Natalie, being a heiress to a very powerful, well-known, prestigious vineyard in Napa Valley, thinks that she has a lot to offer to him. However, he's a little bit headstrong. I mean, they're both really headstrong, which I love, but he's a little bit headstrong. He wants to figure things out himself. He thinks he can do it on his own. I think there's just like a lot of different layers in this book. I loved, again, like I said, the banter and the connection between the two characters. It's definitely it's giving almost like reverse Grumpy Sunshine in a way. Like, he's giving very much cinnamon roll. I've heard that term coming around a lot, but like he's giving a cinnamon roll vibe, like a golden retriever vibe. It's almost like he falls first in a way. I don't know. There's just so many great points in this book. I rated it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Probably my highest rated Tessa Bailey book so far. I'm very excited to get into her other books, Hook, Line, and Sinker, and It Happened One Summer this summer. And so yeah, another great read, 4.5 stars, and I definitely think that you guys should dabble in this series. Another phenomenal book that I read this month was The Gunkel. This is by Stephen Rowley. This follows Patrick, who has lost his best friend to cancer, but his best friend is also his brother's wife and his niece and nephew's mom. So there's so many different layers in this book, and it's hard to encapsulate all that this book offers, provides, made me feel. After the death of their mom, the husband of the wife asked Patrick, Uncle Patrick, if he would watch the niece and nephew because the dad has a bit of a substance abuse problem and he wants to cure that and cure his grief before he starts to raise the kids on his own. And so for 90 days the kids go and they live with their Uncle Patrick, their gay Uncle Patrick, and he is just a bit of an unconventional character. He is not like the normal heterotypical male that these kids are used to being around, and so in a lot of different ways they're being educated on just like the finer things in life, the small things in life. Patrick was also once formerly a TV star, and so he has this very like extravagant life, it seems. And so it's very much a story of personal development, personal growth, family and family growth, as well as grief. It deals with a ton of grief in a very enlightening way. I literally felt like I grew as a person along with these characters, and I resonated so stinking much to Patrick, like conflicts that he faces in the book, the things that he has to deal with, the discussions that were had between him and his friends, or him and his niece and nephew, or just like all the different things. It just was such an amazing book, and I rated this 5 out of 5 stars. This book had me laughing, this book had me tearing up. It was emotional, it was lighthearted, it was funny. It was actually so funny, and I ate this book up, and I am so happy that I had one of you lovely subscribers recommend this book to me and that it was on my physical TBR. It was just an amazing time, and I would highly recommend this book. It's definitely an amazing book. At least check it out if you're thinking about it. The Gunkel was there for me. It was there for me. So the next couple books were all part of my summer Gemini recommendation book pick video. I don't even know what to call it, but I basically read a bunch of Gemini book recommendations for my rising sign, which is a Gemini, and I will be doing another one in December for my moon sign. But I read The Summer I Turned Pretty finally after all these years. This book is so like nostalgic for me because I remember going to Barnes & Noble as a kid and seeing these covers particularly on the shelves, and I would read the back, I would, you know, be interested, but I never picked it up. And then I didn't think I was going to read it because I watched the Amazon Prime series, which is coming out this month. I'm so excited. Season 2 is coming on. Literally so stoked. I was a little bit, you know, I wasn't sure if I was really going to enjoy this book because I kind of already knew how things would play out, what things happened in the book. But no, Jenny Han is an amazing writer, and even though this is a YA, it's a very light read, I felt like it was very riveting. I felt like I was emotionally inclined, and I genuinely ate this book up. I rated it 4.5 stars. Such an amazing read. I'm very excited to watch season 2 coming out, I think, next week. I'm very excited. I really like this book, and I'm very excited to get to the next 2 in the series, which I actually found at Goodwill the other day. So I'm very excited to continue on with this. Then I picked up When in Rome. This is a book that you all helped me pick in my community tab. I asked you guys in my community tab what book I should read next, and you guys chose When in Rome. This is my first Sarah Adams book, and I was seeing a lot of people picking up Practice Makes Perfect, and I really wanted to see like what the hype was about, but then I figured that I had to read this one first since this is the first in the series. And I'm not sure if I resonate a lot with the particular trope that is the pop star trope. This is the second book that I've read, or maybe the third book that I've read, where like one of the main characters is like a famous pop star, and I didn't really like it the first time around, and I didn't really like it the second time around. So I don't think it has to take away, I don't want that to take away from the quality of the book. I think that Sarah Adams is a great writer. I'm not sure if her writing style is particularly for me. It was a little bit too cutesy, a little bit too juvenile. I don't even know how to really describe it, but these characters are like older, and I felt like they were acting kind of young for their age, and I just, like I said, did not really resonate a lot with like the pop star trope, and so I did rate this a 3 out of 5 stars. I still think I'll pick up it. Practice Makes Perfect. I kind of want to see what the hype is about, see if I like that story a little bit better now that I know these characters, but 3 out of 5 stars. We'll leave it at that. I then picked up Good Girl, Bad Blood, which is the second book in, well, third, but the second book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series situation. I like this book. I think that I liked the first one just a bit more. It had a little bit more shock value. This, I felt like things were a little bit drug along for a good amount of time, but I think that's all part of it. Like, you kind of want to keep that suspense building. I liked the way that this book ended and finished out, and I'm definitely going to continue on in this series. But with that being said, I did rate this a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was still a great read. Kept me on my toes all the way to the very end, and I will definitely be continuing on with Holly Jackson's writing. I really want to read 5 Survive. That is a book that I've really been hearing about, wanting to read. I think that the premise of it sounds so exciting, but I will get to the last book, which is As Good as Dead. So I'm excited to see where Pippa's adventures take her. Then I decided to get out of my comfort zone a little bit, and I ended up attending a book discussion club for The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This book means literally so stinking much to me and changed the trajectory of my reading experience whenever I picked up books back in 2020, 2021. I absolutely ate this book up, and after reading it a second time around, I rated it a 5 out of 5 stars once again. It is just such a beautiful story. I really like the trope of reading a book that's been published. Does that make sense? Like, this book that we're reading is the book that's been published in this universe, and we're consuming it as the reader. I don't know if that makes sense, but there's another book, A Love Letter to Whiskey, that kind of has that same similar trope, and I love that metaphysical like overview of books. I love reading books like that. This follows Addie, and you know what? This has a lot of historical fiction elements in it, okay? We're going back and forth in time. Addie is a young woman in like Regency area, 1600s, 1500s, and back in those times, the only thing that women really had as purpose or goal is to get married, is to find somebody to get married to and start a family. And Addie is about to be basically married off to somebody, and she does not agree. She does not want to do it. She wants people to have at least a free life and to have her own free will for a bit longer. And so she ends up going off into the woods and praying to the gods that they will answer her prayers. But she was warned by a local woman that she should never pray to the gods after dark. Unfortunately, as she's praying, her eyes are closed and she doesn't realize that the sun has gone down, and she ends up praying to a god after dark. This god, who becomes known as Luke, makes a bargain with Addie to save her from her situation. However, if you know anything about fantasy and dealing with fae or fae elements, that you should be very specific with your words whenever you're making deals with these beings. And so Luke finds a loophole in the way that she asks her wish and ends up making a deal. The repercussions of her bargain are that Addie is no longer able to be remembered by anybody. as soon as somebody turns their back from her, they completely forget who she is, and that follows her for years and years and years. And so we're following this alternating timeline in present day, which in this time period is 2014, and past day, which is like I said earlier, the 16, 15, 1800s. And we're following Addie in all of her trials and tribulations as she goes and tries to figure out how to live this new life of hers. And one day, like literally years, like 400 years later, someone actually remembers her. She goes and she tries to steal a book. She doesn't really steal it, she likes to bring them back, but like she goes and she takes a book without paying for it, thinking that nobody would notice and that they would immediately forget about her. But one day someone remembers her. And it is just such a beautiful story, the way these two fated souls meet. And I absolutely ate this book up a second time around. Probably one of my favorite books of all time. 5 out of 5 stars. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I was asking your guys' help a lot this month. Well, last month, in the month of June. I really like interacting with you guys on my community tab, and I definitely think moving forward I want to get your guys' opinions on what books I should read and just kind of help me figuring out the path to my reads. I put up another poll to see what I should read after The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and you guys chose yours truly. In May, I picked up Part of Your World, absolutely ate that book up. It was such a magical, perfect, like, literally one of my favorite books of the year. It was my only 5-star in the month of May, and I was actually really excited to get to yours truly. I don't think that I resonated as much with this book. I really liked it. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. However, I think I was just a little bit overwhelmed by the level of anxiety that the main character Daniel had in the book, which I think was part of the point, but it just was a lot. And it is a bigger book. I just felt like that maybe the pacing was a little bit off, a little bit different compared to Part of Your World, and I wasn't, you know, I was trying my best not to compare the two. I think that I just felt a lot more connected to the elements that were in the levels of complexity that were in Part of Your World. There was this magical town. There was like Grey's Anatomy vibes because this woman is a top surgeon. Like there was just so many different levels, and I feel like with this book I just wasn't as moved. But I still really like Abby Jimenez's writing, and I think that I connect with her writing more so than just her characters or just her plot lines. And I'm very excited to maybe do a video where I read some of her backlist or dabble in some of her already published books. Yours truly was a 4 out of 5 stars for me. And then lastly, I had to read this book this month. There was no way I wasn't going to let the month end without me reading this book, and that is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. This book genuinely surprised me. It actually genuinely surprised me. I rated this a 5 out of 5 stars, I want to say, but looking back I maybe want to change that to like a 4.5. I don't know, it doesn't matter. If we round it up, it'll be a 5. This book was captivating. I was not anticipating how well this book is not only written, but how well I resonated with it. I love Black literature, okay? I genuinely need to dabble more in Black authors and Black literature, Black romance. I don't know why I haven't, and why I just maybe think I'm not exposed enough to it. I know Shaughnessy, I think her name is Shaughnessy Schroeder. She is big on Black romance and Black book recommendations, and so I've been like eating up her content, trying to find books and things that I could add to my future TBR, because I'm not really buying books right now. But this follows 2 authors who have had just like such a troubled childhood and a traumatic childhood, and they bonded together in a lot of different ways in the time that they spent together. And fast forward years later, they are enthralled with each other, still emotionally captivated by each other. They still care for each other. Basically, the main character wants to figure out, what's her name? I forget her name. Eva. Well, Eva, because I think her full name is Genevieve, or Genevieve, as she likes to tell people. But she wants to know why Shane left all of those years ago, and I think the entire time we want to know too. I love the chronological element in this book. This follows 7 days in June, like it says, and it's sectioned off by days. These days also correlate to the time period that they spent when they were younger. So I just think there's so many different elements in this book. This is a very well thought out book, a phenomenal book, and it's definitely worth that 5 out of 5 star rating. I would love to dabble more in Tia Williams' writing, and I think that all of the characters, like there wasn't one bad thing about this book. There wasn't one thing that bothered me or made me cringe or made me think twice about my level of enjoyment. This book was perfect for me, and I am very, very happy that I finally read it. I probably, if I didn't read it this month, I probably would have waited a whole nother year to read it in June. 5 out of 5 stars for 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, and I will definitely be dabbling more in this author's backlist. So here are the 9 books that I read in the month of June. I again had a really great reading month. I had 3 5-star reads this month. One of them was a reread that was a 5-star read before, but regardless, I still had 2 5-star reads this month, which blows my mind because last month I only had 1. So that shows me that you guys are a trusted source to help me pick out the books to read in the rest of the month, and I'm very excited to continue to incorporate your opinions and decisions in my reading journey. I have some fun summary vlogs, reading vlogs coming up in the month of June, and some fun ideas that I cannot wait to execute and share with you guys. And I appreciate all of my new subbies here on this channel. I hope that you enjoy the content that you see and hope that we can continue to grow together here on this YouTube channel. But I thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next one. Peace.